I believe that our childhood memory really influenced us. Our growing up environment really influenced us to be who we are today. So I was born in District 10 in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. It's very small, like in its very small alley. If you've been in Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, you will see that's a quite special thing about Saigon, that they have a lot of small alleys, especially in the city, in the district that not just basically the district that not in the central downtown, but far a little bit away. They will have a lot of small alley. Like I was born in one of the Kai alley. And I remember because my alleys, I have to say it was very complicated with a lot of criminal activity, gamble like activity around me, because that's the environment that I growing up. So I seen everything. I seen a lot of things. So my neighbors, my family, like you in that kind of environment, and you observe, and you somehow affected by it a lot. So I remember that one. I always have, even now I am get out of that LA already, and I live in different environment, but there's some sort of like memory is still like in my head a lot. For example, like because in my alley sometimes there's like fighting between people. So when I remember when I was a kid, I was sitting playing something, but then suddenly you hear the sound, boom, boom, boom. That means people fighting, yeah. And you was worried because maybe that was some of your family member, or something happened to them, and it was a little bit scary for me, and that was some sort of like unforgettable sound or unforgettable memory for me. Even now, sometimes I just like hang out in some places, not in the same area, but when I hear this kind of sound, I was just remember me of my childhood, right? Because that's kind of like very typical sound around me. And I seen everything, like people gambling, people struggle because gamble, and a lot of things happening. But because the alley is a lot of people coming like from different area, like some people come from Cambodia, Mekong Delta, different provinces, and they come there. And that's the good thing about, one of the great things that I really like about the alley is that they really, even though they have a lot of issues, but they still care about each other, like neighborhood, right? So they because everybody come from like very humble background, and they know that they coming from different places. So this is a place where people can live together and kind of like survive together. So I have that sense of neighborhood when I was growing up, and that's really really nice, to be honest, because it helps you to start looking at other people like equal, and then you always welcome other people in your life, because that's how I was growing up. Yeah. So there's a lot of things. And then I remember that in my alley, when I was a kid, because my parents, they never go to school, and my brother too, I have two older brother, they went to school a little bit and they stopped. So when I was growing up, not many people, even my family member, even my parents, couldn't really support me with my education. So basically they just, okay, go to school, but like, how I'm gonna define my future, or what I'm gonna do after school. They don't know anything about it. It's just, okay, just go to school. And I went to school, and actually when I talked to a lot of people from my neighborhood, like in the alley, a lot of people surprised that I graduated, because the environment around me is so difficult to be in that, like to be able to finish school. But I did, and because I think deep down for me, like I feel like I could do a lot. I could do a lot of interesting things in my life. I can do much better than where I am at that moment. But actually, I didn't really know how could I do that, because nobody guided me. Nobody really shared with me, okay, what could be like a role model, like what could be the future for you. So I was a little bit struggle like that when I was growing up.
It's very interesting because, usually it's difficult to, when you are in this neighborhood and maybe the career path or whatever, future that you see is, you might tend to think, okay, I will do whatever people in the neighborhood do. And usually it's when you meet a mentor or someone external that you realize, actually, I can do this, I can do that. But in your case, it's different. Like, you already know that you could do something else, but there's no one to show you that it's possible, but you know. But I just wonder, like, any inspiration from your childhood? How did you know that you... I read I think the same interview, you were telling yourself, like, you didn't dream to be a doctor or whatever because you had no idea what actually is out there, but you had the dream to become something better than yourself. But yeah, I just wonder, like, how do you know this while other people in your neighborhood, they don't have the same, inner force?
That's a good question, because when I remember my childhood, there was nobody really was my role model around me. I think most of the time I remember there was a Hong Kong drama. It's very popular during my childhood, like when I'm growing up, like TVP, like Hong Kong drama was very, very popular in Vietnam. So every house watches. And there was a few like film that I watched, and I could see the development and the opportunity of those people, and I feel, wow, these kind of people, they actually can live like that, and they could really do something like that. I feel very like I like it and admire it. I think, oh wow, maybe, because nobody showed me how I can do that, but I can see like that could be a possibility for me. That could be me. Like I could do something that access to this kind of opportunity. But it's just something in my head. I'm not really. I didn't know how to like put it down in word or like a dream or anything, but more like, oh yeah, there's a possibility in the future. Yeah, so that was my situation when I was a kid.
It's funny. It reminds me of I did an interview with an Indian woman. She was born and grew up in Mizoram, so that's northeast state of India, in between Myanmar and Bangladesh. So it's very far away, let's say, from all the big cities and from all these opportunities. And she was telling me she's also the first one in her family to go to schools and university. And I was asking her, what made you want to be good at school? What made you question what was around you? And she was like, we were lucky to be the only family with a TV. So she was watching this random stuff that appears on Indian TV, but that showed her Mumbai or like other cities. And she realized, oh, there is something else beyond the place I'm living in. So cool. We should make a movie.
Yeah, I think definitely. When you in the environment where you couldn't really access to a bigger world, TV could be a bigger world, right? Or movie, something like that. So you can really see what happening or imagine what happening outside this small world, and that could trigger something inside you. I totally agree with that. So that's actually that's why I answered in that interview that actually no, I didn't have like a specific dream like to be something, to be a doctor, to be like a lawyer or a business owner or anything, but I just saw the possibility in front of me, like in my future.
So then you went to school. Well, first, just maybe to contextualize, what is the age range when you were living in that alley? And then, so you went to school, I guess, with the same dream to go out there. And how was this period?
So basically, I remember I was so worried about my education because my parents having issues about finance when I was 16, 17, something like that. I was worried I have to stop studying, like go to school, because the financial situation. I remember every month, like when I was in high school, we always, like the family who pay the school fee latest, like the last, and always like aspire the deadline because I know that my parents didn't have the finance and also enough money to pay. So I accept the fact that yes, that. And then in Vietnam, there's a funny thing that when I was in high school, that if you pay the school fee late over the deadline, there's somebody like in charge of that, like in charge of monitor the student, make sure they don't do anything like danger or out of line. So that he will ask some people who couldn't pay the school fee on time to go into like the room and then stay there and not let us studying because you don't pay the school fee. And I was, yeah, sure. I mean, that's the fact. And then I just, every month I was just there, and then until we got the money, we paid it, and then he let me in the classroom again. And the surprising thing is that on the 11th grade, I was still the first student, the top student. And a lot of people surprised because why I always been late paying school fee and not really studying that much at the classroom, but I still be the top student. And yeah, so that was a little bit difficult for me when I was in high school. So luckily mean that it's not like a lucky situation, but luckily that my parents was able to sell the house in District 10 because we need some money. And that means like now my parents would be able to support me to go to school. So yeah, I think this something bad happened because we had to sell the house, but actually provide me the opportunity to go to school again. So that's why after sold the house, my mom gave me some money to go to school, like in my college. So I think around 18 years old, I started to basically, because we no longer has a house in District 10, so I have to go around finding a place to live, like rent it, to live and stay in Saigon to study.
Yeah, before we go back on uni, I just wonder, so like you were throughout the whole school life, you were always telling yourself, I need to be the top student?
No, never. I mean, I think because of, I don't know, maybe I'm the one who very quick learner. And I always like pick up my study very fast. I mean, I remember when I was 11th grade, I didn't know anything about English, like very terrible about English. Yeah. So like I remember like I have like kind of like a teacher, but in my neighborhood, he used to support the kids who don't have the money and they can stay there and study English with him. And 11th grade, I really didn't know how to like speak English and really bad at it. And luckily when I went to 12th grade, I had a really great teacher, English teacher, in my classroom, and he really inspired me. He was so funny and inspired me to learn English, and I pick up so fast and become the top student in the English class. So when I told my teacher in my neighbor, like, oh, I'm gonna, apply for a language university. He's yeah, okay. He just say okay. But actually later on, he told me in his head, he said like, not gonna be possible because a lot of people spend like years to study English and trying to get to university, like language university. I just like pick up 1 year. How could I get there? But I did. I passed and then went to the language school. I think it's because of my ability of being a quick learner, and I pick up school very fast and quickly. So that's helped a lot.
Okay, so you're just a genius. That helps.
Not genius, but like I pick up things very quickly, like just enough to pass it.
It's funny you speak about, you take the example of English because, so stalking you, I saw that you studied English language and literature. Just wondering, like, why?
I mean, again, sometimes I feel my life I just make decision very last minute. So like when I was in 12th grade, I was thinking, oh, I really like English, so I should study English, you know, so I should go ahead to study English language. So I looked it up a lot of like different university, college, and say, okay, this one is good, this is new, and also focus on English language, and I applied for that. I didn't even know what that mean. Like English literature mean. I just say, okay, I want to learn English and I just want to go there. And then, yeah.
And at that time, because you mentioned, you know, when you were younger, have no specific dreams to become any specific job. At 18, is it still the case, or do you have a clearer picture?
Very good question. I think at 19, I have to move down, like kind of like live alone and rent a place to live, like be independent. And I remember that, you know, it like you step out from a small world to a bigger world, right? Because you now have to deal with different people from your neighborhood, like different from your neighborhood, and the people who come from very, very different backgrounds. I think at the beginning, it was very scary for me, even though I'm excited, but it was very scary because there's something that like recently be able to share it. But before, I feel a little bit worried and scared and also ashamed because I was worried that, you know, when I meet the people come from very different background from me, like they are from a privileged family or better condition or better situation, family. I feel like if I told them about my situation, like my childhood background and everything, like my neighborhood, they may not want to be friends with me because the idea is like, you know, you're coming from that kind of environment and people will look at you and think, oh, maybe you are the same, right? Or you have some sort of tendency to do those kind of things. And I think that made me feel very terrified a little bit. And I feel hesitated to share that with other people. At the same time, I feel very excited that now I can talk to different people, but at the same time, I'm trying to hide it. So not many people know about this. Just like, okay, I'm just somebody go and study and meet different kind of friends and talk to different kind of people, but I rarely talk about my alley and my childhood memory like I do today.
But yeah, I feel like now you're proud, right, to have been born, not born, but to be from this alley in D10. I mean, we're doing a big back and forth, but yeah, I wonder, like, did you have these feelings throughout the whole university, or did at some point it faded away?
Yeah, I think one of the things that made me feel much better when thinking about my childhood and more confident over the time is when I understand who I am more and more. Because, you know, for me, I think sometimes we can also, I was before, like, we can be stuck with that kind of history. And we was thinking that, okay, that is who we are because that's where we come from, right? And when we out of the world to the world, we feel, oh, this is part of what we couldn't really get rid of. So that's something that we have to hide. But the more I understand about who I am as a person, like the value and what I believe and the knowledge that I accumulate over the time and experience, and the more I talk to different kind of people, I learn from different kind of people, I realize that everybody have kind of maybe the same struggle because they kind of like worry about that too, you know, and the more I understand about who I am, or the more I have experience in talking to people and interact with different people, get used to it, I feel much comfortable to talk about my childhood or talk about the past, because I know that cannot define me. Like you cannot choose where you was born, but you can choose how you live, right? So that's become more and more nature for me.